The life Alara had built with her husband, Liam, was a portrait of suburban success, muted, orderly, and tastefully predictable. Their three-bedroom home in Maple Creek, a quiet, well-to-do town, stood as a monument to stability. The lawn was always trimmed, the mailbox painted a cheerful white, and their holiday cards showcased matching pajamas and picture-perfect smiles. To outsiders, they were the dream couple, the high school sweethearts who'd made it. Their love story had matured into a mortgage, PTA meetings, and a bright, spirited 7-year-old daughter named Sophie. Liam was the foundation of that life, a steady accountant at a respected downtown firm. He was as consistent as the rising sun and as dependable as Tuesday night trash pickup. He was a gentle man, soft-spoken, patient, endlessly kind, and an involved father who never missed a school play and could build IKEA furniture without swearing. Alara knew he was a good man, and yet, to her secret shame, she was beginning to feel smothered by the very life they'd worked so hard to build. Their weekly date nights had become rituals of repetition. Same booths at the Gilded Steer, same appetizers, same safe conversations about Sophie's soccer practice or who got promoted to the office. The fire that had once defined their relationship had simmered into a mild, tepid companionship. It was a comfortable life, a safe life, but not the one she sometimes dreamed of in secret. The dream had a name, Julian. It started with a simple notification, a blue dot on her screen one uneventful Tuesday evening. Julian Vance has sent you a friend request. Her breath caught in her throat. Julian, her Julian, the one from college, the one who spoke in visions, who promised her Paris in the spring and Manhattan in the fall, who saw her not as a wife or mother, but as a muse, a force. They burned hot and fast for 2 years until it all fell apart. His ruthless career in marketing demanding every waking hour, and her unwillingness at 22 to become the silent woman behind the man. Now, a decade later, his name had reappeared on her screen, like a ghost walking through the wall. Clicking his profile felt like opening a time capsule. He was successful, confident, magnetic. Photos of him speaking at conferences, laughing in sleek suits on high-rise balconies, shaking hands with people who mattered. His world was polished, fast, and intoxicating. "Who's that?" Liam asked, eyes still glued to the spreadsheet glowing on his laptop. "Oh, just an old friend from college," she said too quickly. "Julian Vance. He just moved back to the area." She accepted the request without hesitation. It was harmless. Everyone stays in touch with old friends these days. That's all it was. But harmless things don't make your heart flutter during morning traffic. Harmless things don't linger in your mind while packing your kid's lunch. Harmless things don't feel like secret sparks in a world of gray. Julian was charming even from behind a screen. Under a recent photo of the family at the fall festival, he left a comment. "You guys look so happy. Liam's a lucky man. Beautiful family. Alara." It was perfect, respectful, flattering, inclusive of Liam. Who does that? Exes were supposed to be messy, blocked, buried. But Julian wasn't messy. He was refined, considerate. That was nice of him, Liam said, peeking over her shoulder. His jaw tightened slightly, but she pretended not to notice. Soon, Julian was everywhere. He invited Liam to golf. Liam declined. He recommended a new coffee shop. The next day, he was there when she stopped by. Coincidences became routine. The comparison started quietly and grew louder in her mind. Julian was closing million-dollar deals. Liam was talking about his fantasy football draft. Julian was attending black-tie galas. Liam was fixing the screen door. "Don't you think it's weird how often he's online?" Liam asked one night. She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. He's just being friendly. You're being paranoid." "I didn't say you were doing anything wrong," he said, his voice soft. "I just think maybe we should set some boundaries." She scoffed. "He's my ex from a decade ago who wants to be friends with my husband. Most men would kill for that kind of maturity. You're lucky." Liam didn't argue. He simply went quiet, that shuttered expression descending like a drawbridge. She'd seen it before, but lately it lingered more often. Julian's name slipped more easily into daily conversation. He invited her to new places, sent witty comments that made her laugh in ways Liam hadn't in years. She found herself putting on lipstick to run errands, choosing outfits she used to save for dinners out. A thrill returned to her life, a pulse she hadn't realized she missed. One morning at Starbucks, the one Julian had casually recommended, there he was, leaning against the counter, looking effortlessly stylish in a navy blazer. Their eyes met. He smiled, that slow, devastating smile. "Era," he said warmly, ending a call. "Julian, what a coincidence," she lied. They talked for 20 minutes. He asked about Sophie, her interior design work, Liam. He spoke of his own career like it was an accidental success, laughing off his achievements with modest flair. When she left, she felt giddy, like she'd stepped out of a dream, and didn't want to wake up. That night, she mentioned it over dinner, trying to sound casual. Liam's face tensed. "The Starbucks you recommended?" He asked flatly. "Yes, that one." "What's with the tone?" "No tone," he said, turning back to his book. But she felt it. The invisible wall he was building, brick by silent brick. He began noticing things. How quickly she answered Julian's messages, even during family movie nights. How every other sentence seemed to include Julian's name, his car, his job, his witty takes on politics. "It's getting a bit much," Liam said gently. She flared. "Sorry my ex actually did something with his life, while you're still stuck in your entry-level job from a decade ago." The words fell like a blade. Sharp, unforgivable. Liam said nothing, just left the room to check on Sophie, leaving her with the cold echo of her own venom. At wine night with her best friend Chloe, she vented. "Liam's making a huge deal out of nothing. Julian is literally just being nice." Chloe watched her closely. "Era, are you sure it's Liam who's the problem here?" "Oh, please. He's insecure. That's on him, not me." Chloe hesitated. "It's just the way your face lights up when you talk about Julian. It doesn't feel like just friends." "You sound like Liam," she snapped, standing up. "Everyone's paranoid." But the signs were there. Friends growing quiet when she brought Julian up at gatherings. Liam joining a gym across town. Spending more time at work. Asking fewer questions. Seeking fewer answers. Slowly, methodically, he was pulling away. She barely noticed. She was too high on the thrill of attention, too determined to prove she wasn't doing anything wrong. Her post turned bold. A throwback photo from Italy with Julian, sunlit and carefree. The caption, "A lifetime ago." Some connections stand the test of time. Julian liked it immediately. Liam didn't react at all. One evening, after Liam declined another invite involving Julian, she confronted him. "I don't get it. He's trying to be friends. You're acting like a child." Liam looked up slowly. His eyes were calm. Clear. Not hurt, not angry, just tired. "Do you ever listen to yourself when you talk about him?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "At dinner last week, with your parents, you mentioned Julian 17 times. I counted." She stared, stunned. "You compare me to him constantly," he went on. "My job, my clothes, my jokes, even my hands. Do you think I don't notice? Do you think I'm stupid?" Anger surged in her throat, defensive and bitter. But beneath it, fear was beginning to bloom. The kind that whispers you've already lost, and just haven't realized it yet. Weren't so insecure, you wouldn't notice. Insecure. He let out a short, humorless laugh. "You changed your gym schedule to match his. You said it was a coincidence. We're friends. Friends work out together. You hide your phone screen when I walk into the room. Because you're paranoid," she shrieked, her control fraying. He just shook his head slowly, a profound sadness in his eyes. "I saw your text." Her stomach plummeted. For a split second, sheer panic seized her. The late-night messages, the inside jokes, the flirty emojis. He'd seen them. She recovered quickly. Her best defense was a furious offense. "Oh, so now you're spying on me? Going through my phone?" Real mature Liam. "That is exactly why Julian is so much more." She caught herself, the words dying on her lips. But it was too late. The unfinished sentence hung in the air between them, thick and damning. Liam's face told her he'd heard the rest anyway, the part she hadn't said out loud. His expression was utterly devoid of emotion now. It was blank, empty. "So much more what?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Successful, confident, bigger. She should have stopped. She should have apologized, burst into tears, begged for forgiveness. She should have done anything other than what she actually did. She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound that echoed in the quiet living room. "Well," she said with a dismissive shrug, "if the shoe fits." He didn't say another word. He just stood up, his movements fluid and decisive, picked up his keys from the bowl by the door and walked out, closing it softly behind him. Era stood there, her heart hammering. He'd be back in an hour, she told herself. He'd cool off. To prove her own nonchalance, she grabbed her phone and posted a vague, passive-aggressive status update. Some people just can't handle strong, mature friendships. Julian liked it within 30 seconds. Liam did not come home that night. The annual Maple Creek neighborhood barbecue was supposed to be their thing. It was a pillar of their perfect suburban life. Liam, the undisputed grill master, would hold court by the Smoky Weber, while Era's famous truffle and rosemary potato salad would earn its yearly chorus of praise. Sophie would run wild with the other kids, her laughter a bright thread in the tapestry of the warm summer evening. This year, the tapestry was unraveling. Liam had come back the day after their fight, but only to pack a bag. "I'm staying at my brother's," he'd said, his voice flat and remote. He agreed to come to the barbecue for Sophie's sake, a phrase that felt like a slap. The real shock came when Julian arrived. He walked onto the patio, carrying a high-end bottle of wine, and clapped Liam on the shoulder. "Liam, glad you could make it, man." Liam, to Era's astonishment, smiled a genuine smile. "Julian, thanks for coming." They were acting like old friends, talking about sports and the new tech IPO as if they'd been doing it for years. It made her skin crawl. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Liam was supposed to be sullen and jealous. Julian was supposed to be orbiting her. Instead, they had formed their own alliance, leaving her on the outside looking in. Fueled by 2 large glasses of Chardonnay, Era's resentment began to fester. When a neighbor, Karen, started a story about running into her ex at Whole Foods, Era saw her opening. "That's why I just love how mature Julian and I are about everything," she announced at the patio at large, her voice a little too loud. "Like, we're actually friends. Isn't that right, Julian?" The patio chatter stuttered to a halt. A weird, uncomfortable silence fell. Liam was staring intently at his beer bottle. Julian looked, for the first time since she'd known him, deeply uncomfortable. That's when Liam said it. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence like a razor. "Yeah," he said, not looking at her. "Especially when you're still in love with them." The wine glass nearly slipped from her hand. The blood rushed to her face, hot and furious. "Excuse me." "You heard me." Liam's voice was steady now, his eyes cold and hard as stone, finally locked on hers. "We all see it. Every post, every text, every accidental run-in. You're not subtle." Something inside her snapped. The humiliation, the frustration, the rage at being called out, it all detonated. "If you wanted to do this here in front of everyone, then fine. Let's go." "Oh, you really want to go there?" she spat, her voice trembling with fury. "Fine, let's go there. You want to know what everyone's actually seeing? They're seeing how Julian is bigger than you in every single way." A collective gasp went around the patio. "Want me to break it down for you, Liam? Let's start with the obvious. Salary. He makes triple what you do, pushing papers around in a cubicle. House? Try a penthouse downtown with a view while you're still dreaming about putting in a pool. Biceps? Please. He doesn't need a Planet Fitness membership to look good." She was on a roll. The words poured out of her like poison. "Friends? People actually enjoy his company. They aren't just being polite. Dreams. Ambition. He's not stuck in some dead-end mid-level accounting job counting other people's money. He's building an empire." She paused, scanning the horrified faces around her. Liam just sat there, his face pale, a defeated look in his eyes that only made her angrier. "Should I keep going? Because, honey, I can go all night about how much bigger and better he is than you. What's wrong? Isn't this the honesty you wanted?" "Era, stop," Chloe whispered, trying to grab her arm. She shook her off. No, no. Let's lay it all out. Julian is bigger in every single conceivable way. Confidence, success, and yeah, other things too. She smirked, a cruel, ugly twisting of her lips. Stop me if I'm lying, Liam. Oh, wait. You can't because we all know it's true. Liam stood up slowly, his movements wooden. He didn't look at her. He walked over to where Sophie was playing by the sandbox, took her small hand, and without a word, walked toward their house. Karen was covering her kid's ears. Chloe was shaking her head in disbelief. Even Julian looked utterly disgusted. What? Era called after Liam's retreating back, her voice high and shrill. You wanted honesty. I'm just telling you what everyone's already thinking. At least Julian can handle the truth. The party died a swift, awkward death after that. As people gathered their things and left in hushed whispers, she could hear snippets of their judgment. Can't believe she said that. Poor Liam. That was just brutal. Whatever, she thought, slumping into a chair on the now empty patio. They needed to hear the truth, too. But as she sat there alone in the wreckage of her own making, a cold dread began to seep into her bones. Later that night, sitting alone in the too-quiet house that no longer felt like a home, she sent a text. Her fingers trembled slightly. Era, want to grab coffee? I really need someone who understands. The response came back almost instantly, but it wasn't what she expected. Julian, I think we need to talk about boundaries. They met at a 24-hour diner, a relic from their college days. The harsh fluorescent lights made everything look stark and unforgiving. Julian looked different somehow. The charismatic charm was gone, replaced by a weary gravity. Before he could speak, she launched into her defense. Liam is being so ridiculous, she started, her voice pleading. He pushed me to say those things. He never understood me. Not like you do. Remember how good we were together. She reached for his hand across the sticky Formica tabletop. Julian pulled his hand back as if he'd been burned. Era, stop. Just stop. His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. You are a married woman. You have a daughter. And you just publicly, cruelly humiliated your husband in front of your entire neighborhood. He deserved it. He's the one who... No, Julian cut her off, his voice like steel. He didn't deserve any of that. And honestly, I feel partly responsible for this mess. She tried a brittle laugh. What mess? We're just friends, right? Are we? He challenged, his eyes boring into hers. Because friends don't do what you did tonight. Friends don't constantly compare their husbands to their exes. Friends don't orchestrate accidental meetings or send flirty texts at 2 a.m. No, I never. I've seen the way you look at me, he said, his voice softening with a hint of pity. The comments, the throwback photos, the constant need to prove something. And I let it go on because, I don't know, maybe my ego liked a boost. But after seeing what you did to Liam tonight, I can't be your backup plan. I can't be your ego boost anymore. A cold tightness seized her chest. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to fix your marriage. Or don't. But stop using me as a weapon to destroy someone who clearly loves you. You don't understand, she protested weakly. Liam and I, we're not compatible anymore. He's not. He's not what? Julian finished for her, his voice laced with disappointment. He's not me. Era, do you even hear yourself? You're chasing a ghost, a memory of what you think you lost. There are no sides here. Just a woman who couldn't appreciate what she had because she was too busy trying to destroy it. He stood up, dropped a 20 on the table for the coffee he hadn't touched, and paused at the door. Try being happy with your life, Era, instead of blowing it up to prove a point. And then he was gone. The unraveling was swift after that. Liam went full ghost mode, communicating only through his lawyer. Divorce papers arrived by courier, filled with cold, clinical words, irreconcilable differences, emotional abuse. Her Facebook posts, the ones she once thought were clever and powerful, were now Exhibit A. In Liam's case, half the neighborhood wrote witness statements about the barbecue meltdown. The time-stamped late-night text to Julian didn't exactly help her case for being a stable, committed partner. Even Chloe, her supposed rock, turned on her. "You need help, Alara," she said over the phone, her voice strained. "What you said at that barbecue wasn't just mean, it was cruel. And now you're on social media acting like you're the victim. Everyone is so sensitive these days." "I just told the truth," Aurora cried. "The truth?" Chloe's voice rose, incredulous and angry. "The truth is, you're still obsessed with your ex, and you just torch your entire life to prove some weird, pathetic point. And for what? Julian doesn't want you either, Aurora. Nobody does." The line went dead. The words hit her like a physical blow. She tried to double down, posting more throwbacks, sending more messages that went unanswered. She even drove past Julian's usual spots, but he had changed his routines. The world she had so carefully curated was shrinking, the walls closing in until all that remained was the echo of her own choices. Karma, Era decided, wasn't just a concept. It was a wrecking ball. The divorce court judge, a stern woman with no-nonsense eyes, practically laughed her out of the courtroom. She lost the house. She lost primary custody of Sophie. The child support she received barely covered the rent on a tiny, depressing 2-bedroom apartment across town, the kind with peeling paint and chain-link fences. She was granted supervised weekend visits. Supervised, as if she were a threat to her own child. Meanwhile, Liam thrived. The quiet, predictable man she had once scorned bloomed in her absence. He was promoted to senior partner at his firm. He bought a new house in a pristine development near the best school district, and he started dating. Her name was Isabel, a gorgeous, serene yoga instructor who, according to Sophie, made the best chocolate chip pancakes in the world. "And she helps me with my math homework, Mommy," Sophie told her one Saturday, her voice filled with innocent admiration. "She says Daddy is really, really good at numbers." The knife twisted. Julian, for his part, kept things politely distant. She saw him at school events, dropping off his new girlfriend's nephew. The girlfriend was a pharmaceutical rep who looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. They did couples CrossFit. A mutual acquaintance told Chloe, who reluctantly told Era that Julian had said, "Era taught me an important lesson about respecting boundaries." "Great. Glad I could be a stepping stone for your personal growth, Julian." Everyone, it seemed, had an opinion, and everyone had taken a side. "You got exactly what you deserved," her own mother had told her, her voice cold with disappointment. "Liam is a good father. Sophie is lucky to have a stable influence like Isabel in her life now." Even her court-mandated therapist kept gently nudging her to examine her patterns of behavior, but they didn't understand. None of them did. "I push him to become better," she argued in the echo chamber of her mind. All those comparisons to Julian, they motivated him. That barbecue blow-up, it finally got him to stand up for himself. If he had just been this version of himself when we were together, the confident, successful man who actually stood up to me, I never would have kept looking back at what I had with Julian. The worst part was seeing them. She ran into Liam and Isabel at a parent-teacher conference. He looked different. He'd lost some weight, but it was more than that. He wore a sharp, well-fitting blazer and carried himself with a quiet confidence that was entirely new. He looked bigger somehow, not physically, but like he was finally taking up the space in the world he had always deserved. He didn't even seem nervous around her anymore. Isabel smiled at her, an actual, genuine smile. A smile that held no fear, no threat, no insecurity. It was the smile of a woman who knew her place and was happy in it. Meanwhile, Era was stuck in relationship purgatory. Her last 3 dates had ghosted her after a quick Google search. The barbecue story had apparently become a local legend in the Maple Creek community Facebook groups. So this was her life now. Single, barely making ends meet, watching her ex-husband thrive while her other ex wouldn't even respond to a drunken 2 a.m. text. Everyone told her she needed to work on herself, to find closure, to move on, but they didn't get it. She hadn't lost Liam because she was still in love with Julian. She'd lost them both because they couldn't handle how honest she was. At least, that's what she told herself at night, alone in her cramped apartment, the glow of her phone illuminating the empty space beside her as she scrolled through Liam's new life, and then Julian's. But sometimes, in the suffocating quiet between 2 and 4 a.m., When the wine wore off and the self-deception thinned, another thought would surface. A terrifying, slippery thought she could never quite hold on for long. Maybe it wasn't her weakness. Maybe it was her cruelty. Maybe they didn't leave because they couldn't handle her honesty. Maybe they left because they couldn't handle her. Maybe, just maybe, she was a problem all along. Not that she'd ever admit that out loud.